Yeah.
Right. Bonfire night, hence the noises outside. But we're here in the secret workshops of James Murray and the Mk2 Cortina that has been around for a number of years now. It's been in Street Eliminator for the last
3 years?
3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2019, yeah. 4 years then. 19, 20, 21.
Well,
22.
one of those barely got a season in though, didn't it?
Yeah, 20 and 21 are pretty short.
Yeah. But either way.
No,
since-
21 was only one meeting.
Well, yes. So it's been in Street Eliminator since 19, as you say,
yeah.
and in NSCC.
From 99 until 2018.
Wow.
So, yeah, 19 years, 20 years of NSCC.
And so it is a 1969?
Yeah, I think so.
And what
June, July or something like that, 69.
And it was a 1300 Super, was it?
Yeah.
Good grief. And when did you buy this? Because I remember you buying it.
I think it was beginning of 96, I think. It was in the bargain pages, pre everything being on the internet, so you could get someone's phone number and go and have a look without having to bid on it blind. And I was round at a mutual friend of ours in North Solihull, shall we say, and saw the advert and thought, oh, I've got to go and have a look at that, for no good reason other than, well, it was a Cortina estate, so why not?
Cortina and local, presumably.
Yeah, it was in parked outside a school in Great Bar in Birmingham, and bought it for 95 quid with a load of spares, and it was a non-runner. Towed it home with my Mk3 estate that I had at the time, I think. Yeah, probably. And the yellow one.
The yellow one, yeah.
And then didn't do anything for a long time. So it sat around for a bit. Had it in a lockup.
Didn't you have a few Cortinas in lockups at the time?
Yeah, I had quite a few at the time. Yeah, I'd got a Mk1 estate and a Mk1 saloon, and that yellow estate, and then a Mk3 saloon, which is still here, which they might have been using. No, I was probably using that at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, but at that point now, I'd got.
Yeah, I remember it being on the road back then. Yeah.
I got the Mk3 saloon GXL, 2-litre GXL was on the road, and the yellow estate was on the road as well. And possibly even had that Mk5 two-door, two-door saloon in another one of the garages, and a Mk2 console in the garage as well.
I remember that, yeah. So you had lockups dotted all over.
Too many lockups, way too
many
much money,
postcodes.
way too much money spent. So I think actually this sat on a friend's drive in Acox Green for a while, for no good reason, and then it was in a lockup, and then. We were talking about this earlier on. I think at Flame and Thunder 97, or it might have been 96, was actually the first time I went to a drag strip. Somehow, I don't know. I know when I was at school, friends had gone to Long Marston as it was at the time, but somehow wasn't into cars or couldn't be bothered, or whatever, didn't go. So we went, whatever it was, we went to Flame and Thunder, either 96 or 97. Managed to mess around all the Saturday, didn't actually get to Flame and Thunder at all. Got in at midnight because that's when the price went down. And in fact, we'd gone to Flame and Thunder in a blue Mk3 Cortina.
Also yours?
Also mine, yes.
Yes.
Which is before I'd got the...
A 2000E, as I recall.
Yes, blue 2000E, which had some very bad welding on it, and had got a mangy Mk5 interior in it. Anyway, went in that, and the yellow 2000 XL estate. And a bunch of lads went down, didn't go there, went to the pub, the Poddington Arms, saw some crazy singer who we still remember to this day.
Yeah.
And then got into the pod at midnight, got a load of beers in, went to the waltzers, annoyed the operator, and then saw the Run What You Brung the next day.
Because I didn't realise that the Flame and Thunder was only on the Saturday, and that Sunday was just to Run What You Brung.
No, none of us knew anything at all.
No, I think I kind of dragged some people there under false pretences by doing so.
We didn't know any better.
No.
We went to Santa Pod. We saw some drag racing on the Sunday. Run What You Brung looked great. And I decided at that point that the least appropriate car to put a V8 in would be this Cortina. Partly to annoy my friends who said, why don't you get rid of that piece of shit? And so I thought, right, that's it then.
You don't need friends like that.
Anyway, so they're not really car people. So that was it. Then the decision was to put a Rover V8 in it, and I don't know how soon after that, but at some point after that, then it got dragged up to Lichfield, to the farm that you were living at, Dave,
Yes.
and stayed there for. It can't have only been a year. It must have been 2 years. Must have been.
But I do remember you cracking on with it. I remember you coming up one Christmas day and working underneath it.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you were really fired up about it.
So yeah, worked on it lots of weekends and stayed over in the back of the car or in your caravan or what have you, and worked on it. Usually you weren't there. I was just working on it anyway. And whenever I started, it definitely got through its first MOT in end of '98, which I think I'm going to say October. But I remember it failed to start with, and I had to do some exhaust welding on it, and I was welding underneath it in the rain with a Cadillac bonnet as shelter to protect me from the rain. The bonnet off that red Cadillac.
Yes, which when I refitted to the Cadillac, I accidentally dropped into the windscreen. Yes.
No, we accidentally dropped into the windscreen.
Yes, because would you believe it, folks? Cadillac bonnet's quite heavy.
Yes, so anyway, it did a slightly better job of protecting me from rain while I was welding exhaust on it. So yeah, then it was 3.5 on SUs with Borg 66.
Originally, of course, it was automatic to begin with. Yeah.
Yeah. So originally it was, and that would come out of an SD1 that we bought somewhere on the other side of Brum and dragged up to Lichfield and pulled apart.
Back when an SD1 was worth its V8 and gearbox, and that was about it.
Yeah, I don't know how much I paid for £100 or something like
that.
Yeah.
Can't
have been much more than that. And so that, to start with, it was on the Cortina axle, which I think is probably a 389 ratio or something like that. And as soon as I'd driven it about 2 miles, I didn't like that. So then had a 3-litre Capri, which was 308 ratio, I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was fitting that until about 5 in the morning before one of the first Run at Your Brungs at the pod in the beginning of '99 that we went to in the rain, and then we'd gone on the wrong weekend.
Did you lose your fan belt on the way?
Oh yes, that was it as well.
Yes. We drove there.
No. That was the following meeting, because we went there.
That was actually happening.
We got there, and it was either the wrong weekend, because this was the time before SantaPod had a website.
Yes.
When you had to ring up whatever it was, 01234
7822828. How do I know that?
Yes. Anyway, you had to ring up to find out what was on, and somehow we rang up and we got there on the wrong day, and it was closed. And
but it was a long road test.
Yes, it was a long road test, and it was drifting round the roundabout by Tesco's. I vaguely remember that.
But at the time, you was still on 13-inch wheels, wasn't it?
Oh, it was for a long time.
Yes, and the 13-inch like MkII Cortina Ross style looking things, wasn't it?
Probably. 185 70 13s.
Yes.
In fact, probably some Baron remolds or something like that.
Yes, that's it. Yes, because I had a set of remolds off that orange MkII that you ran on, and they're actually quite sticky. Kingpins. Kingpin remolds.
So yeah, I think that's what it's probably on. Anyway, so we got there that time in the rain, and it was shut. And then I think that was the time when I just fitted the axle to it. I think it was, maybe not. But then a couple of weeks later or something like that, just you and I went, because that first time we went with a friend of ours who got a Rover 220 turbo. Obviously, none of us ran. And then later on, we went and lost the fan belt just by Corley Services, and we put an emergency fan belt on it. And then we got there. You were in your Sierra?
Yes.
Mark 1, Mark 2?
XR4i.
Yeah.
Early, yeah.
And it ran a 16.6, this did, because it hadn't got enough fuel pump on it. So,
was it still the factory mechanical fuel pump?
No, it was some cheap electric fuel pump.
Oh, one of the little cube ones.
It's something. It was electric fuel pump, which is probably on the shelf just over there, actually. In fact, it is on the shelf just over there. I don't know why, but it is.
Because nobody throws anything away.
No. Anyway, that wasn't enough to keep the SU float bowls filled, and at about 1,000 foot, it ran out of fuel, and you came sailing by in the Sierra. So that was an easy fix. Bought some maybe Carter fuel pump or something like that from Real Steel. I forget what it was. Anyway, Lecky fuel pump from Real Steel. Then it worked. And then the first time I took it to a race meeting was at York at Easter. And I was signed up as HRG 67, I think.
So, excuse me. So this was the first season of NSCC then. So what year was it? Sorry, 99?
That was 99, yeah.
99.
So we went there got there on the Saturday. In fact, we'd been out in York with a mutual friend beforehand, if you remember that.
Vaguely.
Jen's. Been out with Jen
Yes.
in
Yeah,
York on
yeah.
the Saturday evening, and then having spent the evening out on Saturday, we then drove over to the track. Signed up with Sean in his caravan that he was at in the morning, and I forget when, but one run went over the bump in the middle of the track, and the bonnet release didn't release itself.
Ah,
Safety
self-releasing
catch
bonnet, yes.
was rusted open, and the bonnet decided to touch the roof. And there is still, actually, to this day, a little dent in the roof.
Yeah, I don't know if you can still see it.
There's a little
Oh,
dent.
yeah, there you go.
It's a little dent on the roof from where the swage here in the middle of the bonnet
Yes.
made contact with the roof. And I remember told that Graham Bickworth said, oh dear, he seems to have lost his bonnet. Oh, he's wound down his window and he's put his head out so he can see where he's going now. That wasn't exactly ideal, but after that, took the bonnet off and continued racing. Then the Monday of that, I wasn't there. I went and took my Mk2, which is out there, to a local car show to here. So I was just there for the one day.
Right. So, can you remember what you ran at York over the quarter?
I think it was in the 15s, because I think that day they got some technical issue and they're handing out little certificates of speed with the time written on it.
Right, okay.
I think they normally had a ticket machine, but that meeting it was broken or something. So I think it was running 15s. I don't think it was into the 14s then. I don't think. But then after that meeting, I don't know if I'd already got it or not, but bought a 3.5 that would got a Holly on it, again at the bargain pages.
Oh, I
And we
remember.
went to
Yes, yeah.
Cannock or somewhere like that.
And did the guy not have a Jensen Interceptor or something?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah, but how do I remember this? Honestly.
Yes, he
Can't
did.
remember what I did yesterday, but I can remember that.
So got it. Yes, I regularly remember looking around that Jensen. Anyway, I bought this 3.5, which had I think it had some, yeah, it had ported heads, and it had got a Holly 390, and it got Offenhauser 360, which I've still got out there somewhere. And then that engine was converted to manual, and I forget what it ran when I first came out, but that combination ended up running 14.4. Again, I think that might have been when I put the Capri LSD axle on it. Still 308 ratio, still 13-inch tyres.
Ah, yes.
13-inch wheels even. And it would run 14.4. So I was running 14, maybe 14.3, running in bracket racing, running in NSCC heads up, being knocked out in the first round. And I think it was a time of fairly quick development, because then that first year, at the end of the year, I'd got nitrous on it.
Wow.
But I seem to remember, because it wasn't in a separate compartment, York wouldn't let me run it at the track, but tested it out either on the way home or on the street the next day or something. That's like, oh, this is working well. And I think at the end of that year, then I went to a run at the pod and got it into the 13s then for the first time with that nitrous kit on it.
Were we still on the 13-inch wheels by this time? Yes.
Yeah, still on 13-inch wheels.
So 185 tyres,
yeah,
into the 13s on nitrous.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
And I think then probably the next year, maybe 2000, it was then running, say, 13.3, because I'd made a bogus compartment in the back that passed scrutineering, which was just...
It was a proper compartment behind the rear wheel tub.
No, that was before then.
Oh, right,
no, so
okay.
Before then, I'd still got the rear seat in it. So I still used to keep in the back of the car at the track.
Yes.
I'd got Velcro in curtains on the sides in the back.
Oh, because there was no cage there then, was there?
No cage, because it's not required. And the seat folded down as per the standard Cortina seat in the back. No tubs. So It was all stock. And I'd got runners on the side and a wooden board across that made the rear into a separate compartment. Scrutineers at Shaky were less impressed by this. It's like, we've got flammable material. How can this be a...
This be a safety feature?
That doesn't count as a separate compartment, but the York were happier with that.
Right.
So that's how I ran it at that time. So the nitrous bottle was in a separate compartment, and then I was allowed to run it. And at least I think it was then running 13.3 or thereabouts on the nitrous. And then I think probably then 2000, maybe the end of 2000 actually. I think it was that quickly, end of 2000, because I wasn't living here then. I bought a 9-inch and came up at the very end of the year with a 9-inch under the car, but I hadn't tubbed it enough, and the tyres were touching the arches, and the prop shaft wasn't balanced right, and I got a spacer on it, and it was a bloody nightmare. And it was not a happy time at all.
It sounds like a dog's dinner.
It was a dog's dinner, and I got to the track, and the level crossing was closed, and I had to take a detour, and got there about 5 in the morning and stuff, and it wasn't working. So then I think I did it better over the winter then into 2001, and actually then I think in about 8 weeks I back halved it, and it actually did I think I'd already must have been during 2000 I'd 4-linked it already.
4-link while it was still on the Capri axle?
Yeah, it was 4-linked while it was going on the Capri axle.
I don't remember that.
I don't know where all this time came from to work on it, but somehow I managed to find a lot more time than I have these days.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was 4-linked on the Capri.
Right, okay.
And then went to 9-inch. I think, yeah, must have been into 2000. It wasn't here. It wasn't here. So it was 2000 into 2001.
Wow.
The beginning of the year, did the back halving it.
Yeah.
Put the tubs in it. Made the tubs on my parents' drive, rolling them around a CO2 bottle, and cut the boot floor out. Did the framework in there. Put the boot floor back in. Battery in a compartment under the floor rather than being
because
the
battery is sunk under the boot floor.
This side of the back bumper. It used to be just sort of randomly in the rear quarter again, not in a separate compartment. Whereas now it's in a separate compartment, sealed off from the rest of the car.
Yeah.
Nitrous bottle then was in a separate compartment on the side. So again, it was with vent holes down below and stuff. So
in the passenger side rear quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was more in keeping with the rules.
Yes.
And then in that setup, then once I'd got it working, was the first time to get into the 12s. I think, I don't know why, but I seem to remember that being at the end of 2001 was the first time I made it into the 12s. I think. I think that was in 2001. But yeah, end of 2001 was when it got painted this colour.
Because of course prior to this, which is the original fern green or something, or an approximation of the original.
This is actually opal green due to a mistake. It should be fern green. It isn't opal green. It isn't fern green. It's actually opal green.
Because prior to this, people still remember that it used to be painted in camouflage paint that came from Leavesley's Army surplus up the A38 from my house.
And the painting started at the Spring Nationals Drayton Manor. Yes. On the car park of the bowling green.
Yes, with 2-inch brushes, and was it you and Tom Stammers?
Quite why I thought that was a good idea, I've got no idea. I wouldn't be doing that these days. But it seemed like a good idea at the time. And I remember being stopped in the street.
I was going to say you couldn't do it now because Leavesley has shut. But anyway, sorry, carry on.
Now, I remember being stopped in the street in Briley Hill by Alex Rowley, who I didn't know at the time. And it's just like, this blonde girl came up to me in 100E, came up to me and spoke to me and stuff. What the hell's going on here? Dave blew that apart. Oh, you mean Alex? Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But anyway, she came up to me. Were you the one that was painting your car in the car park? Yes, that was me.
I remember that. Yes,
I went back to Spring Nationals on the Sunday and got a bollocking off the marshals. Oh, your mate's been doing donuts in the field. What? What are you on about? It was some random person in a Mark III Escort that was painted camouflage that I've never heard of. It was nothing to do with me whatsoever. It had been apparently doing donuts. So I started my day there with a bollocking.
How did they see him? If he was in a field? Anyway, sorry. Can't have been that good camouflage paint.
No,
anyway.
They did. So yes, it ran its camouflage for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then in here, well, actually just over there, at the end of sort of October, I think it was October 2001, Phil Royal helped me paint. He did most of the painting on it, and I'd done the bad prep beforehand. That was the problem. If I prepped it properly, it might have helped, but I didn't. Don't and still don't know how to do bodywork. Bloody useless at it. Anyway, it became this colour, and
Well-
in time for the first door slammer event at Long Marston.
What I was going to say, it hasn't fallen off in 20 years, so it can't have been all bad. But yeah, the Door Slammers event, that in itself is going back a bit.
Yes, unfortunately, I had made a bit of a problem. So while working on this, I'd managed to get some metal in my eye. And so the week after Phil had painted it, and I was supposed to be putting it back together again, I wasn't, because I'd got some metal in my eye and I couldn't see, and I was down the eye hospital and stuff, and then put it back together in a rush. And unfortunately didn't put any bolts in the diff.
Yes, the ring gear to the
Yes, it
carrier.
was not bolted on. It was just the press fit. Why I didn't put the bolts in, I've got no idea. Anyway, put it all back together again. I think it had been in there just as a holding it in place. But I just put the half shafts in, bolted it all in, right, off we go. And then it came. I broke a gearbox on the line with no ring gear bolts. But
That's
then,
an achievement.
yes, but then having come back, fetched another gearbox, taken it, changed it at the track, then the ring gear decided it wanted to come detached. Yes, so not a very successful at all Door Slammers event there. In fact, a complete failure.
But it did look shiny.
Yes, kind of. Anyway, so that's when it got painted then, was the end of 2001. And then kind of the period of rapid development ended. And it went into slow progress, which ended up with sometime, I don't know when, it eventually went from 12s, and I then put a second stage of nitrous. I did have a purge on it. I thought, I wonder if I could put this as a second stage instead, and testing it shaky at the end of 1 year. Yeah, it went from 12.8 to 12.3. But yes, that was a much better use of
This second stage was just directly into the sort of folded aluminium scoop.
Yes, it was just a bit of brake pipe from there where the purge solenoid was, running round here, down here, and just poking straight into the front. And that took off half a second.
What I was going to say, it's only stupid if it doesn't work.
Much better than having a purge. So I went from 12, was running 12.3, and then occasionally dipped into the 11s. And at that point, just like, run an 11, need to at least have a roll bar in it. And then had roll bar added. And then for many years was then just maybe getting a little bit slower. Until probably, I don't know, maybe 2017 or something like that at York, talking with fellow racer Ian Wally. And he said, something's not right, it's nitrous isn't bloody doing it. And I went and did a test just on the first stage, and it basically wasn't doing anything at all. Took it apart. The sintered bronze filter was re-engineered with a pin punch through it to remove it. And
At which
then
point it ceased to be a filter, presumably.
Yes, I picked up half a second and 10 miles an hour overnight by binning the bronze filter. So then it was properly running 11s again.
Right, okay.
And then it was basically, I wasn't really doing a lot other than welding it up for each MOT, because it used to live outside. In fact, most of the time I've had it, it's been outside. It's only been since 2019, I think, when it's actually been inside. There's always
it's actually lived inside, yeah.
There's always been some car in the bloody way or something, some other good reason for it not to be inside. So it's only recently it's been here, and funnily enough, it doesn't need to be welded up all the time now that it's actually living inside. Also, I used to always drive it to the track. So always.
Oh yeah, it never saw a trailer until Street Eliminator days, really.
No.
Did it?
Well, once it saw a trailer when you towed that Vauxhall VX 490 or whatever, and it came back on a trailer. That was, I think, the only time it went on a trailer.
Yeah.
Other than
good, because that trailer was a death trap.
Other than a couple of times when it broke. I think even then, when I've melted pistons, I've normally driven it home.
Well, you just took the plug out, or?
Yeah. Well, no, just disconnected the injector.
Because
Well, Chris McCulloch towed me back from Shaky once.
right.
I drove it back from Shaky once. Drove it back from York with melted piston, and then one time I dropped a valve at York, and it just got rammed back into the cylinder head. So I took the head off, took the end of the valve off, put it back together again, and drove home.
Because there was, did you actually never win the trophy for getting home in the face of adversity that the NSCC used to issue?
Yes, I think that was at the Nats. The clutch hose decided to rest on the header and melted through, so I had to drive it back from the Nats with no clutch. But there was another time at York when an
The
engine
master
mount
cylinder.
came undone and snapped the master cylinder off.
Clean off the bulkhead, yes. I
Yes,
remember
so
that.
that didn't really help things either. So
Well, you made it home from York with no clutch,
Hmm.
which is what, 120 miles?
yeah, 130, I think.
Yeah.
So it's with your assistance.
Yeah, I was running interference at junctions.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you're right. You hardly ever did see a trailer. It always used to be on the road.
There wasn't that many times when I broke at the track. There wasn't that many times when it was that serious I couldn't get home.
But I mean, you're talking about, I melted a piston here and did that. You've always run your Rover motor on factory stock pistons, haven't you?
Mm.
So you must have got through a few, mustn't you?
Yeah, well, I can see a broken one on the shelf up there, and there's a two in a
There's
bag.
another one behind it.
Yeah, there's a couple in a bag outside as well.
There you go, offerings to the gods of speed.
Yeah, offering to the gods of nitrous mistuning or something like that.
So,
But yeah, factory engine, well, mostly factory bottom end.
yeah.
I certainly of late added ring gap to it. In the first place, I probably didn't because I didn't know about such things.
Oh, so you're running all that nitrous with standard gaps in the rings?
Probably, yeah.
Oh,
I can't remember now. Probably was. Recently, I wasn't. It didn't really necessarily seem to help. With real steel, whichever one it is, can't remember. Real steel cam.
Oh, the Typhoon or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Viper Typhoon. There were some better cams than that, but in the most recent catalogue, they're not there anymore.
Oh.
Seems the range of stuff that they do is reduced quite a bit.
Well, I suppose Rover it's got to be on its way out now, hasn't it?
Yeah, so started with the Holly 390 probably since about 2005, maybe. I moved on to fuel injection.
Was this with factory gear?
No, never run factory gear.
Right.
So it's always been Mega Squirt stuff on there. So
Right.
it's always run.
Well, now, say from 2005, this was still the early days of sort of DIY ECU stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think it was 2005, thereabouts anyway. And yeah, from deciding, right, I'm going to do it, modifying the manifold, and because at the time, buying a factory injection manifold was far too expensive. Don't know how much they were, but they're maybe 150 quid then. It's like, couldn't afford that.
Stand a crow.
So modified the Offenhauser manifold. I got to put injector bungs in it and brazed up some steel fuel rails, and off it went.
Which served you well for years, didn't it?
Yeah, until they started leaking and Lee left me stranded at the track.
Oh, I don't remember that bit. Okay.
You'd already gone home. Had to have Ian Wally help me. But yes, so after that stranding there, I replaced them with some aluminium rails that were a bit better machined. But yeah, they ran for 10 plus years or something like that. So yeah, the fuel injection progressed. To start with, it was just doing fuel, and then it was fuel and spark, and then it was controlling nitrous, and then the launch control, and all kind of flat shifting and all the other sort of stuff.
Because you became known for this. I mean, I remember inside your car was like just a massive wiring where things were added and then got taken away and changed, and there were wires going everywhere. And it's as you were developing these new features. So I remember the flat shift wasn't it just a brake light switch on the clutch pedal that activated it?
Yeah. Still got that. I just took it outside last weekend. So yeah, that worked very well. And I remember, the commentators at York saying, "Oh, good to hear that." And even the guys at the pod, "Oh yeah, we love the bang." And most people were, "What on earth's that?" Because I shifted gear, bang. But it got a bit tedious repairing the exhaust every time because it just kept blowing holes where there was a little bit of rusty pipe. It suddenly became a hole.
Yes.
And the square rear silencer became round, and also got used to spit out the front as well, and bent the bonnet and bent the intake.
Oh, I remember that because you had a sort of a where your hand is now.
Yeah,
it sort of lifted the bonnet away from the catch, didn't it?
But that was also because it had rusted underneath, and lazy person that I am, I hadn't done anything about it until it was just hanging off the catches here,
off the pins.
Yes.
Wow.
And it got to a point though with that firing where I think Hot Rod Drags might have been 18 or something. I had the Santa Pod safety go, "Oh, you're on fire! Oh my God!" And it's like, I need to do something about this. This is not going to go down very well. It's just like, just see a ball of flame come over the front. Yeah, it's normal. Just used to that. But I did it on the dyno, and it's, "Oh my God!" It's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just It does that.
They all do that. So.
Well, it did that. Yeah. Yeah. Just,
Wow.
yeah. So what?
So, as I recall, it was at the end. You'd been thinking about stepping up to Street Eliminator for a while.
Well, hadn't really been thinking about it, but I'd loved the class since before I built this, I think. Or when it was first, when we were first going to the track. So I haven't been to the Flaming Thunder. I'd said, I want to do this. And obviously it took a year or two, however long it took for me to get it on the road at all. And during that period of time, we'd been going to the big meetings, main event and what have you, and love Street Eliminator. Particularly like Mick Rogers and his MkII Cortina.
Yes.
It's great. Love it. Rat look, good geezer, local, all the rest of it. One of the many
Didn't
cars.
take it too seriously either.
No, that was the days before everyone had a motorhome. He'd turn up, drive it there, and he'd be in his tent and on his own, and just drove it around Wolverhampton and stuff as well. And it was great. So in the early days as well, I used to buy the nitrous from Mick. So used to go to his place in Wolverhampton, which is he got turfed out of that unit. It's now a sofa shop. But so yeah, I'd always liked Street Eliminator, and it was really in 2018 when York had closed. NSCC was running with straight liners. We're doing our best because at that point, I was organizer of that, but attendance just wasn't happening, and it was hard work. As organizer, I was turning up because I was organizer of it, but the support wasn't there, and it just came to the end of 2018. We'd been to East Kirkby. There were 3 of us there.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is this all about? And I think that was the Saturday, and the Sunday, it was the weekend of the Euros. And the Sunday, we went to the Euros and thought, I should be here. This is just more happening. I got to the point where this isn't working anymore. It's a shame it's not working anymore. I want to give it a go with, I've always wanted to run in Street Eliminator. And a number of people had said, you're going to be slowest car. It's like, yes, I know this. I know this very well.
The phrase you used at the time was bringing a plastic knife to a gunfight.
Yes.
Which I loved and will steal and use as my own.
Well, to start with, you said it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. It's like, no, it's bringing a plastic knife to a gunfight because I'd broken. So I knew that I was outclassed. It's like, yes, I know this. It's quick enough because you've got to run 13.5 and it could run 11s.
I was going to say, you could run 13.5 motor only couldn't you?
Yeah, you could do that. So, to run into the 11s anyway. So it's like, I was okay. But yeah, I knew I was going to be outgunned. But it's just like, I want to give it a go. I wanted to do it for 20 plus years. Why not? If I can't do it now, why not do it? Just have a go. And yeah, it was good. First meeting I went there and I broke it. Melted a piston. Didn't realise I melted a piston. And then had a crankcase explosion on the cruise, which it's funny because I was just driving on the cruise thinking, well, this is a piece of piss. This is the easy bit. What we're worried about here? Pulled up to a junction, boom! And, oh my God, the flash of flame and smoke, and everyone drove past because they're not allowed to stop. And shit, wasn't so good really.
So, but you still completed the cruise, didn't you?
I completed the cruise just about, but then it had actually blown the valley gasket out, and yeah, because I hadn't realised I'd melted a piston. If I'd unplugged the injector, I'd have been fine. So then I didn't make it to round 1 because it was spewing oil everywhere, and I thought that was probably not the best idea.
Mm.
But got that fixed, went to the main event. The Sportsman Day at the main event was great. Hadn't realised what the Sportsman Day was. I mean, it's like you get to the track on a Wednesday, what the hell's going on here? Aren't you supposed to be at work? But then Sportsman Day, bit quicker. I think ran 11.6 on that meeting, and it was good. A lot of rain that event, but anyway, that was good. It all lived. That was the first time I'd towed it to the track because I picked up the night before my minibus. Hadn't even taken any seats out of it. Got that the night before, hired a trailer, hadn't towed a car really for 20 years because nearly lost this off a trailer in 99 down by Bassett's Pole.
I remember.
And just hated towing after that. It's like, no, don't want to do it. Just afraid of it really. So just bought the van the night before, hired a trailer, took it to the track and had a good meeting, and then had a good year that year. and progressed with that engine. Was it that year? Except no, I broke at the end of the year. You know, just a bit of nitrous and what have you, broke. So then during 2020, when the world was stopped, put in a 4.6, that one in fact, and
this one on this engine crane.
yes, that one there, and then progressed that, and by the end of 2020, got it to 1149, I think, at the Euro finals. Picked a wheel up for the first time. It was great. It was all good. Apart from the national finals, I managed to melt another piston. But put it back together again, and that engine's been on the dyno since. And I think I'd had it dynoed in May of 20. Then I had it dynoed again beginning of last year after I'd repaired it and make sure it was all good. And it was 250 on the motor, and had been, what we were looking at was 418.
That neck of the woods, yeah.
Yeah, 418 on the nitrous, which was good enough to push this to 1149, 1146, 1146 at 119.
Yes, because 49 was your previous and 46 was your new, wasn't it? That's it, yeah.
And then with, I think that the weekend of the Euros had a few different crew, and the one guy who does circuit racing came along, and he was crewing, and he was saying, "You're just not competitive in this class. Why are you doing it? Why are you running in this class when you're not competitive?" It's like, yeah, I know. And then come the end of the year, having broken the motor, it was out to repair it, and then in this other MkII Cortina estate here, which I was planning on building as a faster car, who knows what I'm going to do now, sitting in there with the Turbo LS that had been in the MkII Capri I'd had before I fell out with it. And the green one had got an empty engine bay, and there was this Turbo LS sitting in the other one. I thought, well, shouldn't that motor be in this car, really? So Phil Royal came down, and we spent a day trialling it in the hole. Would it fit with the 4L80? Well, anyway, that's it. LS is going in this. That's it. No time like the present.
Yes, break out the surgical hammers.
Well, it was also with all of the COVID malarkey and the world shut down, and we're all getting older, hearing about friends in the scene who weren't so well, or lost eyesight and all this kind of. It's just like, get on with it.
What are you waiting for?
What am I waiting for? I'd had that 5.3 LS for 13 years. The fluorescent's just gone off, I think.
Yeah.
Had that LS for 13 years.
Sat on the floor under a blanket.
Sat on the floor under the blanket, or in the Capri, or sitting here, or what have you. It's just like, get on with it. I mean, I'd got it before when they weren't that popular. Before the likes of Sloppy Mechanics even existed, I'd had it. It was actually a friend of Kyle that does 1320 video.
Oh yeah.
It was a buddy of, it was his crowd of friends that I was inspired by. Seen their video, I think also in a Fairmont.
Yes, I remember you showing me that.
I think it was a guy called Parrish. I don't know him, but I've met Kyle a number of times. But it was their group of friends who'd done this in 2007, 2008 or thereabouts. And they're like, that's cool. I want to do that. So I ended up buying that 5.3 off eBay in the States. Had a friend pick it up from Chicago for me, pallet it up, sent it over with some 4L80s, and then time stood still for 13 or 14 years until the beginning of last year, or end of the year before, 2020, where it's like, get on with it. Get on with it. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So then spent most of last year working on this to get the LS in it, which, as always, was an awful lot more work than I thought. It'll fit in without moving the bulkhead, complete load of bollocks. Of course, it needed to move the bulkhead, but no, bulkhead hasn't been moved. Honest, it's still factory,
No.
Factory flawed. Honest, mate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you had to replace like with like, didn't you, as I recall?
Yeah, there was some rusty panels needed to repair. So yes, it was an awful lot of work, and there is still an awful lot to do. But made it out the very last meeting of last year. We got to the track at 1:30, I think. Was it 1:30? Something like that. Spent the evening outside the track because we were too late to be let in, and then did some tuning on the Saturday morning out on the road away from the track, because I'd got an MOT on the Friday, but basically hadn't driven it. I'd driven it around the block. I'd driven it to the MOT station and back past the test, and then we took it to the track
On a trailer, yeah.
on a trailer, and it was it wasn't ready at all. Hadn't been tuned, hadn't been bugger all. So I did a bit of road tuning. It seemed to work. I wouldn't say did a quarter mile on the road. Did some distance on the road, and it seemed to work up to no more than 60 miles an hour. It was all good. And then progressed to an 11.9 on the Sunday, which was not as quick as I'd run before, but it was like we made it down the track at all.
Well, yeah.
Because the way it was going on the Friday, we were just not ready at all. And I thought, if we just drive it around the pits, that will be, if we get to the track at all and drive around the pits, that will be a result. So the fact that it actually got down the track, the fact that it was actually in one piece, I thought so. And to run an 11 was,
yes,
good result. Then took it to Melbourne. I think it was a couple of weeks later. And
Melbourne, of course, by this time, York had closed down and Melbourne reopened a couple of years later as an 8th mile.
yes,
And at the time, they had a fairly short shutdown area.
they did indeed have a short shutdown area. So I went there and raced an NSCC, I think. Yes, I did race an NSCC and was doing, I think it might have been 7-8, I think, at 101 in the 8th, which I was pretty chuffed with. It seemed to be working. But being the short shutdown area, I stood on the brakes and the oil light flashed on. And they're like, oh, it'll be all right, be all right, be all right. I think it did it a couple of times because you know how it is.
Yeah.
It'll be all right, thinks me. Did nothing about it whatsoever, didn't investigate, didn't do bugger all. And that came back to bite me because then the main event this year, I looked across the finish line and there was 10 psi of oil pressure. And this is cutting a long story short, 10 psi of oil pressure, and that was not a good thing. And when we took the sump off, we found, in fact, yes, I've got it here, that the sump had got all of that in it, stuck in the pickup pipe, not letting any oil in, and that was the bearings. And
so panning for copper.
Copper, and at that point we decided, no, we're not even putting it back on the trailer, we're going to spectate, because balls to it. So that was the end of the main event on Friday morning. Before Dave was still at work at this point, he hadn't even got there. So people saying, oh, your crew was no bloody good. Well, Dave wasn't even there.
Yeah, well, that comes under the heading of not being much good.
No.
But
so
anyway.
That was game over for the 5-3 due to owner error. If the owner had investigated after the Melbourne incident, maybe I'd have found something earlier on.
Well, I was going to say the 5.3 is a truck motor, so it would have come with like a foot deep sump on it, presumably.
Yes, it came with a very deep sump, which I'd chopped off because there's only just enough space between the bonnet and the road. So I had to chop a lot of the bottom to actually give me any ground clearance at all. So I'd reduced the oil volume. I don't think I put enough oil in it. Braking for the shutdown area, it all moved away from pickup. Lost oil pressure. Oil light came on, but oil light will be at like 5 psi or something like that.
By which time it's too late.
By which time it's way too late.
Yeah.
So these are things you learn afterwards.
Yes.
It seems very obvious when you say it afterwards, but at the time it was like, oh, it'll be all right, it'll be all right. I mean, it still seemed to be running fine, but clearly something...
Oh, yeah, it never made noises. It didn't... Rods didn't knock or anything.
You couldn't hear a thing. So on the last run it did, before we took the sump off and saw the carnage, it had run 11.7 and, seemed all right. But when I looked at the oil pressure, it was like, that is not right. That is not right. So that was 5.3 parked, 5.3 pulled, spent this summer then, because I'd already at this point bought a 6 litre, which was also sitting in the corner of the garage, not having done anything. So built that 6 litre, basically put ring gap in the 6 litre. That was it.
Ring gap and rod bolts, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rod bolt, so the 5.3, I'd got ARP stuff in it. I didn't put the main set into the 6 litre, but I put the head bolts because I'd read some stuff online about you could maybe make stuff oval, and I thought there's plenty of engines running with stock fasteners on the bottom end, but I used the ARP fasteners on the heads. Just put ring gap in it. Bearings looked absolutely fine, so I left them alone.
Fair enough.
Thought, don't mess with it. Is it something I did when I changed the bearings on the 5.3? Did I screw it up? Don't know. So put the 6 litre back together again, just with ring gap. Tidied up the heads, didn't do anything more on that. And then went out at the Euro finals and the national finals. Euro finals had a tremendous amount of downtime with rain and God knows whatever and incidents and stuff. So didn't get many runs, but had a bloody great meeting running 11.4, which was a new personal best, 10.9, first time in the 10s ever, 10.6. I was doing tuning on this, not trying to really run any quicker, but trying to make the boost be more consistent. People say, "Oh, turn it up, turn it up." No. I just need to tune it and make it so it's responding how it's supposed to be. So when I'm asking for 9 psi, I'm getting 9 psi. So the 11.4 was at spring, which was 3 psi.
3 psi, yeah.
So then the 10.9 was at 7 psi, which is like basically a low safe setting. So 11.4, 10.9, 10.65, 10.71, 10.50 something or other, and then ended on a 10.45, which was superb.
So from the course of the meeting, you picked up a second.
Yeah.
Which is not dicking around at all. However, this is all going into future issues, so no spoiler alerts. However, I think you've spoiled that completely now.
Right.
However,
okay.
But the 6 litre you're talking about, it's a iron block, isn't it? It's truck block. It's
so
not an LS2.
No, it's LQ4 truck motor, and bloody hell, prices have gone up since I bought my LM753, which I think was $600 on eBay with a 4L60 behind it, 4-wheel drive one.
Yeah.
Well, so I bought that in the States, and it cost obviously a lot of money to get it across. And the 6 litre was over $2,000. It's like, bloody hell, it's supposed to be a bargain. Wasn't a bargain. But put that together, all okay, and very happy with the times it ran then.
Yeah. That's
still learning. Still need to do a lot more tuning work on it, and it should be capable of taking a lot more boost than it is. That's making 9-ish psi boost.
So you finished this season in the national finals, but you wound up sort of smack in the middle of the championship table, didn't you? Despite having missed a couple of rounds.
Low down in the championship table, but I was in the qualifying ladder. I was actually not the bottom car, which was a miracle.
I'm sure. What position did you finish in the end?
I think 10th, maybe.
Out of 18. So I'll still say that's midfield.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Plus or minus 1. And
having only done 4 meetings.
Yeah, and like I say, having missed 2 meetings, so that really isn't chuffing around. So you've come from the plastic knife to a gunfight to at least a good steel knife, I'd say.
Yeah.
Nice stainless one.
Blunt one. But at least it's not plastic anymore.
That's it. But I mean, now you're in a field where people are regularly in the 6s.
Well, it depends who turns up, but at the national finals, then I think the slowest in the top half of the field was in the 8s.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Was actually in the bottom half.
And when we started watching Street Eliminator, an 8-second run would have been champagne moment.
No, I don't think they were running 8s then.
That's what I mean.
I think
it would have been an absolute revelation.
I think that's before, or in the pro class might have been doing that, but I think because it was split classes when it first started, but certainly in the street class, they weren't running that. I mean, when people were running 9s, it was like, wow, look at that, that's amazing.
9 from a street car, yeah. So can we pop this bonnet up and have a look at this truck?
Yes,
so we'll have a look around the rest. Have you got your high-tech billet aluminium hood prop?
Billet piece of wood.
That's the one.
Yes. I think I've got the right one. Yes. I nearly ended up using this to modify the NSCC scoreboard at Melbourne the other week.
Using it to batter it with, isn't it?
No, using it as a pen holder.
Oh, right, okay. So, this is how to make an LS motor fit into a MkII Cortina, because no tube chassis here. This is still Ford strut tops, you'll notice.
Yes. They've probably been repaired a few times.
Well, it's 50-something years old, I think. That's perfect.
Yeah, I think when I had it, there were probably about 3 layers on here, but I've chopped that out and redone it and done inside. It's done per factory-ish.
Yeah.
But it's that is solid stuff now, not rusty junk.
Not 1 mil Dagenham Yes.
No, well, not 3 layers with a load of crust in between, which is how it was when I first had it.
But an MOT pass nonetheless. So
Yes.
this motor, yes, you can't really see it here, but that is your iron block. What LQ4 did you say?
Yeah, LQ4,
6 litre.
6 litre truck motor, something like about, I think, 9.5 compression. This isn't the manifold that comes on it. This is a Trailblazer SS manifold, which is claimed to be the best factory cathedral port manifold.
And is a lot shorter than a truck one. Because
No, same height.
Is it? I thought truck ones are a lot taller than that.
No, I mean, when you compare this with a car manifold, though, the car manifold is about down here.
Right, okay.
But the problem I've got here is I was trying to look at that, and I haven't even got, I couldn't work out how to actually get anything in or out. Because with a Rover setup, I got the manifold in the middle, like standard 4-bolt Holly flange.
Yeah.
So my throttles were here.
Yeah.
So I could then get things off them. Whereas here, because it's either with the throttle poking out here, or as this, where it's backwards that way, it's really a long way forwards or backwards. And suddenly, whilst width-wise, we're okay. It's not too bad. We've actually got reasonable access down here. In fact, better access there than in the Monaro, crazily enough.
With the Monaro that also runs an LS motor, LS1 in that, isn't it?
Yeah. The access is worse on the Monaro than in this because of all of the other tackle that's in there. Access is a bit tight on this side, and these fuel pressure sensor there, I need to get rid of that and move it somewhere else. It's annoying. I have a plan for that, to just move it out of the way.
But it's largely, I mean, looking at it, I can see a pair of Ability fuel rails here, but externally it looks kind of stock.
Yes.
It's largely factory.
Yes, it is. So, it's got a cam, lifters, springs, push rods.
I mean, it's not a crazy cam either. It's a
Summit Stage 2 turbo cam.
Yeah.
So it's not anything wild. Just got hydraulic lifters, slightly better push rods, upgraded rocker arms because apparently there's some failure mode where the needle roller bearings fly out all over.
Oh yes, and send needles all through your oil.
Apparently. So I bought the set which upgraded that so that hopefully they won't do that. And I've got this completely crap arrangement here with the
it's
alternator
not crap
mount.
if it works.
It is when it's not straight. But there we go.
This is 2022. You can't say that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Interesting brake setup.
So yes, this seemed like a good idea, and I seem to remember seeing it on, I think, a Mark V Escort at Shaky years ago, and talking to him about it, having thought about it. So it's similar to Mark III Granada. It's actually off a Sierra, so the ABS block was separate. On the Granada, the ABS block was built into the unit.
Yeah.
It's actually an electric hydraulic booster.
So no need for a servo there where there's no room.
Yeah, it's actually this front part here is actually the booster, and this whole arrangement here is just a hydraulic pump.
Right, okay.
I didn't fully understand it in the past, but it doesn't use any of the ABS stuff. It's just it's a master cylinder, but it's a hydraulic booster, kind of like a hydraulic intensifier.
Yes.
For anyone who does hydraulics.
And
the brakes are the best they've ever been.
That and the fact that how good would you have been with a servo on a boosted motor anyway?
Indeed.
A traditional servo. So, and talking a boosted motor.
So
what's this?
It's a what is it? A VS Racing 7875 turbo. So a T4 flange, 4-inch-ish, 4-inch V-band outlet there, and it's basically a Chinese via America turbo.
Right.
So it's bought from America, but we all know it's a Chinese turbo. Hey ho. And then a 3-inch outlet there, and really awkward to get at air intake down here on the side where I've modified the inner wings. So if you remember, the Cortina inner wings would have been across the top here.
Yeah.
There just was not space under the bonnet to do anything. The engine's moved back a little bit. It was still tight as anything to make all this fit, with how the hell do you fit a turbo in there, and how do you get a 4-inch exhaust pipe out? It's only 4-inch. Could probably do with being a bit bigger than that, but that goes out under the V. It's got factory factory cast steel manifolds, which you can then weld V-bands onto.
Yep.
So 2.5-inch V-bands welded onto the manifolds, and then crossover pipe from the other side to the single turbo here. And wastegate could probably do with being somewhere better than there, but it's the only place I've figured where it is to put it at the moment, and that routes currently into the downpipe.
Right.
But should probably go somewhere else for less restriction.
Well, I mean, I can see that you've taken advantage of the off-the-shelf availability of parts to fit an LS into a Mk2 Cortina.
Yes.
Which must have required basically everything to be fabbed.
Yes. Pretty much. Yeah. Mounts, exhausts, everything really. And the charge pipe, yes, from the turbo here, around the strut, underneath the wing, then goes into the passenger foot area with a water charge cooler that I made from a core that was given to me by Wacky, thank you very much, that used to run on his VV years and years ago.
Viva, that's going back some in itself,
Yes,
isn't it?
so it got the blown up charge cooler from that, so I modified that. Learnt how to weld aluminium, badly, well, let's join it together.
Like I say, it doesn't have to be pretty to work.
No, well, as you can see, it isn't
I'm
pretty.
not pretty and I work.
That's true. And then comes back through the bulkhead here, and
Yes.
just trying to work out how to do that with the throttle there and how to seal it so it
Because
wasn't
the
then...
throttle is actually, that's it, isn't it?
Yes,
So-
throttle's there. So I made an adapter piece here to try and make it a bit more vertical, because on the Trailblazer, because they've got a massive height issue here, it would actually be pointing up
Yeah.
because the engine isn't high enough. Whereas in this installation it is. And then goes to a flexi piece and then through there as a firewall arrangement to actually keep it sealed from the passenger area.
Right, because it's under pressure there, isn't it? Because it comes straight from the charge cooler in the passenger footwell to the throttle.
It wasn't so much the pressure issue, it's more making sure that if there's a fire in the engine bay,
it stays in
it's
the
hopefully
engine bay.
staying in the engine bay and not coming into me.
Yes, because actually that's a point. Yeah, because you used to run a cover over the grid under the windscreen, didn't you?
Because I had a working heater at that point. Whereas at the moment that doesn't work. That's just all in the engine bay.
Yes.
So there's no risk of any fire coming into me there. There's probably risk in other places, but there isn't there.
Because that would be quite a big gap around there, wouldn't it? So can we move around and have a look inside, look at the charge cooler, or is it full of stuff?
You can try.
Probably
Probably if I come around this side, you might be able to see through the driver's side.
Right.
Whether you can see is another matter.
Right, now, if we have a look.
So my trademark messy wiring, even though I started off with a drop-on wiring loom that's all hanked up and all tidy, by the time I'd then joined that with a transmission controller wiring as well and put the throttle at the back of the engine, I've managed to make it look a mess like normal.
So is it fly-by-wire?
No.
No, it isn't. You can just about see behind the dash there.
Yeah, so that's where I've got the sealing off to make sure there's no air leaks into the... But yeah, so it comes through from under the wheel arch here into this charge cooler. So that's a central core that's water cooled with a water tank in the back with a pump that barely worked, but should be better now.
Oh yes, the old pump was acting like a windscreen washer pump, wasn't it? It just wasn't shifting the volume.
No, it wasn't shifting enough volume. So at the end of a run, this was warm to touch, maybe about 40 or 50 degrees.
Right.
And that's not the idea of ice water. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to test it this year and just run out of time.
Indeed.
So that's something for next year. But yeah, so through there, then it sweeps around here and into the throttle, into the engine.
Because, yes, I mean, for what it's worth, anybody who's paying attention would notice that this is an old 1600E dash, isn't it?
Yes, it is indeed.
Which has been in there for a long bloody time, I remember.
Yes, this came up from a 1600E that was broken up in someone's back garden in Perry Bar or somewhere like that.
And these are the original clocks here, aren't they?
And the one on the right is actually out of an SD1.
Is it?
Yeah, the rev counter's an SD1 rev counter.
Oh, of course, yes. 4-cylinder rev counter wouldn't be up to much, would it?
No, but yeah, the Speedo's Cortina, and the gauge is most of them across the top. And the sticker N20 on is obviously redundant these days.
Yes,
so now it's,
N20 gone now.
Yeah, so automatic now with a 4L80. I'm running it in automatic, controlled by the trans controller, which is one of the boxes up here.
Right.
And learning to drive an automatic. Haven't got trans brake yet. Well, I have got trans brake, but it's in front of the car.
It's on the floor over there.
It's not in the car yet.
Yeah.
New trans tunnel, put some proper seats in it.
What I was going to say, the seats are a fairly recent addition, aren't they?
Yes, in fact, seats are before this year. So back end of last year, still went out with the old MkII Cortina seats in it, but over winter then put in these seats, made sure that they were attached as per the rules. I'd had to add one outrigger because I wasn't happy with what was in the floor already. So they're solidly attached. I consulted with the scrutineers on what to do. Seats I had before, which I bought a number of years ago, reputable brand apparently, but the welding in them was absolutely atrocious, and I just wasn't happy with them at all.
And that's a Mark V column, isn't it?
That is indeed a Mark V column.
Yeah, so, yeah, like you say, you weren't happy with the welding in these brand X seats that you bought, so...
I bought a long time ago.
It doesn't matter. The welding shouldn't degrade.
I contacted the manufacturers. Oh, we don't make them like that anymore. Bloody good thing too. It was awful. And I just like, I'm not running them. You know, I think the state of the welding on them, they were a lot less safe than the Mark V Cortina seats. Anyway,
Wow.
These seats are allegedly, well, no, they've got an FIA tag on them, and hopefully they're built a bit better than the other ones are. Bloody hope so.
Yeah. And this cage was added, well, when you stepped up to Street Eliminator, what did you have to change? I know that they come with MSA rulebook, and Street Eliminator has its own sort of appendix, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this had a roll bar, and it didn't have the front part of the cage. And as it happened,
up here.
It didn't have the front section, so it only got the roll bar section. So it got the harness bar.
4 point at the back, yeah.
Yeah, so it got that, but it didn't previously have the front section.
Right.
Now, as it happens, this bar here is the wrong diameter for a roll bar. It's too small, but it's the correct diameter for a cage. So anyway, beginning of 19, had the rest of, so had it redone, and then as per the tag beside you there, it's tagged to 10.0. That's all I wanted it tagged to. So it's tagged to 10.0 currently, but obviously at the moment I'm fairly close to that. So I spoke to the scrutineers this year, asking them what they'd want me to do to tag it to 850, and I need to put 2 diagonal bars in the back too.
Oh, the cross where the slicks live, not slicks.
Not quite, but just basically such that if there's any side loading on the main hoop, it just stop it collapsing sideways.
Of course, yes.
So those 2 bars there are what they've asked me to put in, which I will be doing.
All it would take to get it up to 850.
Yeah, because I've already, as part of the LS build, I put a dash bar in it.
Hold on, let's open back without clouting anything.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Because there is a bar behind the dash, isn't there?
There is now.
Yes,
it didn't used to be. So yeah, the bars that need to be is just basically coming from sort of about here down to there.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you meant cross between these 2 bars at the back here.
No, that isn't what they asked me to do. What they've asked me to do is just basically put from here down to there on each side.
To the tunnel sort of thing.
Yeah, into the tunnel. I said, did I need to add an extra cross brace or anything like that? No, just put them from there to the tunnel. Okay, fine.
That's the original Cortina static seatbelt down there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's useful to use that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because these 5-point belts, I should imagine, were great on the track, but not so much at Tesco.
I use them on the street, but I've left the kite mark ones in there for the MOT.
Right.
If the MOT man wants to see a British standard seatbelt, there is a British standard seatbelt.
A 50-odd-year-old British standard seatbelt. Because you do take this for an MOT every year.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. As I said to the MOT man this year, I want someone to have another pair of eyes on it. I want you to have a look.
And these bars in the back, these bars between the main hoop and the boot floor, are still just wide enough to get a pair of Hoosiers to go between, aren't they?
Now, if I step up to some larger tyres, I could be in for a bit of trouble.
You'll have to have your cage changed.
Maybe not.
So I'm trying to see the size on these, because these are still 275 quick times, aren't they?
Yeah, 275 60/15. I used to run 275 50s, but they're actually not available anymore.
And you're one of the few people still running the old sort of block tread cross splies, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
I can say also, I noticed while I was in here, that hole in the roof lining.
Yes.
Not caused by Marianne Faithfull's stilettos.
No, caused by nearly losing this off a trailer in 2019.
When it
No,
had an engine in it?
2019? No, it had the front of a MkII Cortina.
The front-
bizarrely.
That one up on the wall?
No, a different one actually.
Oh,
Another one.
Not that one mounted to the wall, but a different one.
A different one.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, actually,
Just because, you can't have enough fronts of MkII Cortinas.
no. You can just have not enough place to put them.
Yeah.
So, back here, just in there, you might be able to see that's the
Ice
water tank. Yes, the ice chest.
Which hasn't been working properly so far.
But now you've fitted a monster pump to it.
Yes, I've fitted a BMW type Peerberg water pump, which hopefully should deliver the goods. In testing so far, looks okay.
Yes.
I just need to do some. At the moment, that is not attached, but it will be.
Well, it's still testing. And the battery lives under the floor here somewhere.
Yes,
isn't it?
okay.
That's it.
So
That's actually an original MkII Cortina floor.
yes,
Happy
of course.
days.
Yeah, and access to connections on the fuel pump through this little panel here.
Yeah. And where's your other slick? Oh, it's down here.
Yeah.
But yeah, between those two diagonals, you can get a pair of 275 Hoosiers.
Yeah, I just moved it out of the way because I was rerouting these hoses
Yeah.
when I was actually working on the car, unlike this weekend.
And these aren't monster tubs either, are they?
No, but when the national finals, I think it was, we tried on a fellow tried to try on a fellow racer's tyres. It was like,
Almax 295s.
these are absolutely enormous in comparison. They just made these look like mini wheels or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, this thing is all still steel, isn't it? There's not a fiberglass panel on the car, is it?
That's why it's so heavy. Because yes, unfortunately, I weighed it. When did I weigh it? Yeah, I think I went to weigh in some steel. That was the alleged reason I went to there. I just went to use the scales really. So I just weighed in some stuff, and it was 1,400 kilos.
What, on the way out?
It's 1,400 kilos.
With you in it?
No.
The difference that would make.
No.
Bloody hell, 1,400 kilos as it sits?
Yep.
Because what? It can't have been
way
a
too
ton
heavy.
when it was a standard car.
No. I think it. Yeah, it was probably 900 and something as it was. But yeah, with a Rover, it was about 1,200. But
Wow.
with
an iron motor and a big turbo.
big iron, iron motor, turbo.
4L80s aren't
4L80.
lightweight either. Oh, that's the trans brake one under that sheet.
Yes, that's trying to keep it clean because the garage is a bloody tip and it's a nicely built, expensive gearbox that needs to be looked after until it gets fitted very soon.
Yes, from series sponsors, Edge Transmissions.
Yes, we may as well just have a sneak preview. This is just me just trying to keep it clean because they've just...
I'm not going to make it filthy with this camera.
No. So
See?
that is nicely rebuilt with a trans brake, capable of supporting way more power than I can probably make, and will be fitted
Well,
very
that's the
soon.
safe way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of weight, and one of the Rovers I've got out there, I can pick up the block and crank and cam. I can pick that up. And the bare block weighs 100 kilos.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's more than you.
That's a lot more than me.
Yeah.
And I think that I weighed the LM7 and it was, I've got written on the wall, it's over 230 kilos, the LM7.
What was that with all the accessories, or was that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Good God. Quarter of a ton of motor.
And the 4L80 is 100 kilos as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not going to try and pick that up. So a significant increase in weight. And I don't know. But it is all steel at the moment. And it probably will stay all steel. It's all steel, all real glass, no fiberglass in it. Maybe there should be. But not fiberglass, plastic.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Lexan windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're all, I was going to say they don't, but they should wind down as well, shouldn't they?
No, they wind down, they just don't wind up.
Yes.
That's
which is something of a flaw.
Yeah, they are okay for emergency use. But,
but not for McDonald's drive-through.
No, not unless it's a hot day when you just want to leave them down.
Fantastic stuff. So apart from the water tank, the charge cooler tank that you've been working on, any other plans between September and next Easter?
2 bars for the cage, definitely. Got to do that.
Right, okay.
Because aside from the fact I've run within 3/10 of my tag.
Yeah.
When I was reading the rule book the other day, I found there's actually a mile-an-hour requirement on a cage as well,
Oh.
which nearly caught me out because I'd run 134.1, and if you run 135, you require a full cage.
Ooh, right,
So,
but it's just those 2 bars.
that's what's
I
written
say
here.
just, and like you're going to throw them in there.
That should be right. So I'm on the correct side of the rules. I haven't broken the rules yet, but clearly they need adding, and anything else that the scrutineers recommend on that.
Yes.
So, the only other thing is a window net.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I've got
yeah,
the window
of course.
net. In terms of other safety gear, I've already got the trans blanket fitted. I've already got the SFI flex plate fitted. I've already got the flex plate shield fitted. I've already got SFI damper. Those are on. I don't think there's any other safety gear that I'm aware of that I'm missing, other than the rules have changed, requiring everyone to wear a balaclava. And you read that?
Was that not always a rule?
No.
Okay.
So if you're wearing hands device, you need to wear a balaclava.
No Nomex one. Yeah.
I've already got it, just haven't ever worn it. So that will be
Right,
something that
okay.
we're all doing from next year.
Is that for all classes, or
Yeah.
is that just a street elimination?
All classes.
Right. Okay.
I think it's all classes. Just as I said, if you've got to wear a hands device, then
Well, everybody's got to wear a hands device now, haven't they?
not if you're in sportsman.
Okay. Right. Okay.
If you're in sportsman, because if you're running 12 or slower,
Yeah.
you don't need a cage. And if you don't have a cage, if you don't have a harness, then you can't have a hands,
Okay.
etc. So I think they don't,
And the knee bone's connected to the. Yes, I get it.
etc. Well, it's at least it means that as the entry level class there, you haven't got to jump through quite as many hoops.
Yes.
You've got quite a few hoops to jump through, but not quite as many. So at least it gives a chance. Well, some races from Melbourne having to think about maybe having a go at Sportsman ET.
Good. About
Cool.
bloody time.
So yeah,
Sportsman ET. I was going to say there's a few races from Melbourne should be in Street Eliminator.
yes.
But there we go.
Ian.
Yes. Nasty coffee got there.
So yeah, bars for that. Get the window net in. Get that gearbox in. Before I get that gearbox in, so Edge have said, here's a list of rules of stuff you've got to do. Need a new transcooler. You need transcooler lines and drain out the converter as much as possible and have a filter on that. So basically, it's obviously protecting it, because making sure it hasn't got any old bits of crap floating around.
Well, I was going to say
the
they
gearbox.
can't exactly offer you a warranty if you're going to fill it with swarf.
No. So my plan is to do as best as I can to do all of their guidelines there and get that in, and then that's a whole new learning experience about how to deal with a trans brake.
Wow.
And how to do that. So, because at the moment the 60 foots have been pretty soft with maybe 1.6. I think around 1.6. They run a 152 with launching with the manual.
With the Rover?
Yeah, around 152.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not chuffing around for a 60 foot.
No, but I think, to be honest, if we'd looked at maybe the 30 foot or the 20 foot, the Rover, the manual setup would really show, because it's really just the dumping the clutch at $5,000.
Yeah.
The initial hit is a lot harder. This is much, much softer at the moment.
Well, if you're launching off the foot brake, I mean, I've videoed every run you've done by and large, and there's been absolutely no drama on the start line. It's just been squat and go.
Yeah.
You're not overtaxing the tyres, let's say.
Tyres are wrinkling, but yes,
Yeah.
so far it's been really smooth, really good. But I think as soon as I start using the trans brake, suddenly it will all not work anymore. The trans brake will be good, but suddenly I'll be breaking traction or breaking things, or I don't know. So I expect we will have a lot of learning and a lot of things to overcome coming ahead.
And hopefully with the accompanying benefits of
Better ETs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, clearly
Plus
that's
breaking your tag.
well, no. So it needs to be retagged because, it bloody well ought to run into the nines. But until it's done it, it hasn't done it, and nothing is easy. So whilst on paper it ought to be easy, it won't be easy.
No,
it won't be easy. I mean, that the Euro finals where it went from 11.4 to 10.4 was great, but things don't normally work out that well.
I was that was amazing, that, because normally when you talking now about going from the 10s into the 9s, is probably, in terms of engineering and expense, as much effort as it was to go from 16s to 13s.
But yeah, the combination I've got here, clearly now, there's thousands of people running this combination.
Yes, well, in America,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
over here it's
Not-
still the new thing, an LS and a turbo.
Yeah, I mean, no, there's more people doing it over here. I mean, I think maybe not so much in MSA competition, but we've seen some cars up at Melbourne. I've seen cars in Outlaw Street doing stuff similar.
Yeah, I believe the drifters love them as well.
Yeah,
So.
but yeah, I mean, in terms of a combination, yeah, there's thousands and thousands of people in the States doing very much like this and running some serious numbers with it.
And on an engine that we still think of as bang up to date, but is actually 25 years old now. Well, the architecture is.
Yeah, well, this is a 2003. I think this one. Yeah, the other one was I think 99. The LM7 was. This one I think it's 2003.
Wow.
So yeah, I think that's about where I am. I think.
So you got a few jobs left to do. So
that'll take me up until the eve of
I
Easter.
was going to say, so you've got a few months to sit around yet before you start then.
Yeah, I'll probably change a gear ratio again because I ran 389 at the end of last year and 325 at the beginning of this year. That was a step way too far. I ran 350 just now, but I think I'm going to run out of revs.
Right. Are you going to stick with the same tyre diameter?
I need to talk to other competitors and see, because everyone said, "Oh, you want to go to drag radials?" You know, people saying, "Oh, they give me half a second with
Wow.
drag radials." And as I said a moment ago, I think once you start using that brake,
Yeah,
suddenly
that'll show up your weak links.
It will suddenly show up the weak links, and yeah, I think that traction is going to become a problem and lots of other stuff. So,
well, we'll cross that bridge when you come to it, I suppose. And talking of bloody weak links, I'm just getting messages telling me that my battery is about to go flat.
oh, lovely.
So having been yakking for well over an hour, I think we'll have to end it there. So thank you ever so much, and yeah, you'll be able to see James. Presume what first meet is Festival of Power at Easter.
Yeah.
So with all these
You'll
jobs,
see me stuck outside the gate at 1 a.m. because I wasn't getting there on time.
having had your MOT done at tea time that
No,
day.
MOT, it's up to date. I got the MOT just before the national finals.
That's the one.
So MOT's all sorted.
So yeah, bit of luck. Festival of Power with all these jobs done, like I say, just mere hours before the race. So happy days. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate it, and best of luck.
Cheers.